You ever wake up and find a bulldozer parked in your yard, its blade kissing your fence like it's daring you to blink first? Yeah, welcome to my Tuesday. I hadn't even had coffee, hadn't wiped the sleep from my eyes, and already there's a hard hat crew grinning like they're about to pave over the Alamo. They called it reclaiming the buffer. What I saw was theft with a smile. If you're picturing a bunch of clipboard warriors thinking a single work order can erase a property line, you're right on the money. What they didn't know, my drone already caught them ripping up my survey stakes in the dead of night. And that, right there, was the line in the dirt. I'm Daniel Clark, and you're about to hear how I learned that some wars aren't fought with fists. They're fought with paperwork, drones, and just enough pettiness to keep things interesting. Now, for a living, I don't make the kind of maps with dragons or buried treasure. I make the kind of maps you fight over in court, parcels, plats, boundaries that exist in dusty county records. That's why I bought these 4 scruffy acres, so I could finally breathe outside Grandview Estate's carefully clipped reach. My fence, my oaks, my little creek humming in spring. That's what home is for me. On the other side of that split rail, manicured grass, matching mailboxes, and a homeowners association that treats bylaws like gospel. Karen Foster runs the place, white tracksuit, Barbie hair, the kind of smile that could peel paint off a Buick. She calls it community stewardship. Me? I call it control. First day it started, all I heard was diesel grumbling before the birds even woke up. I step outside in jeans, boots, and a suspicious squint. There's the yellow beast of a machine. There's Karen, arms crossed like she owns the sunrise. "Morning, Mr. Clark," she chirps, as if we're old friends at a picnic. Lovely day for community improvement. I pointed at my fence, hand-built, older than their HOA newsletter, and said, "You're standing on my property. Got a court order." She laughed and waved some official-looking paper like she was auditioning for Judge Judy. "We have a permit," she said, all smug and satisfied. Now, I'd already called the sheriff. He shows up, tired-eyed, probably thinking he'll break up a cat fight over rose bushes. He reads her paperwork, looks at me, and says the one thing you pray for in these moments. That's a work order from your HOA, not a court order. I can't let them tear down your fence. You could hear the engine sigh when they packed up and left. But Karen? She didn't leave with her tail between her legs. Oh no, she declared paperwork war. What followed was a blizzard of cream-colored envelopes with a Grandview crest, citations for unapproved flora, fines for visual pollution, with a zoomed-in shot of my birdbath gnome, Bartholomew, who I guess is a criminal now. Every letter screamed the same thing in different fonts. You are non-compliant. Pay up or face the judge. It's a slow, grinding kind of attack, the kind that works if you let it. Honestly, there were nights I almost caved. My wife, Emma, she's the type who likes peace but hates bullies even more. I kept thinking, maybe we just move, start fresh, pick a smaller fight. That was my lowest point, picturing a for sale sign where my fence is and empty woods where my memories should be. But Emma just looked at me and said, "You spend your life drawing lines, Daniel. Don't let anyone erase them just because they scowl." Maybe that sounds corny, but snapped me back. It made me remember why boundaries matter. So I stopped sulking and started fighting back, not with shouts, but with a little creativity. First, I made an official-looking permit to mind your own business, laminated it, zip-tied it to my fence, and stuck a QR code on it that led to the county plat, blinking blue dot labeled, "Not your land." Some neighbors scanned it, half out of curiosity, half for the gossip. I got 6 hits in the first hour. Then I bought a bunch of neon survey flags and planted them in a smiley face all across my lot. It drove their surveyor up the wall for a whole morning. Childish, sure, but worth it. Then I set the real trap. See, I have a custom drone. Thermal for K, the whole nerdy package. One night, 2 a.m., I send it up, just watching my property line in that black and white ghost world. Hours go by, nothing but deer and raccoons. Then an unmarked van creeps in. 2 figures hop out and head straight for my metal survey pin. One of them's got a stake puller, like this is a routine job. They yank my iron pin, toss it aside, and hammer in a cheapwood stake 30 feet inside my boundary. Do it 3 times, and I freeze the video on a face I know, Bill Harris, the HOA's beautification expert, gloves on, all too casual for someone stealing land. Now, it wasn't just petty complaints. It was a criminal act on tape. Karen tried to spin it, went on the neighborhood Facebook page about safety concerns and unnatural growth, called an emergency clubhouse meeting to vote on buffer action. That just happened to include my backyard. I guess she wanted an audience for the execution. I wasn't about to let her have the only mic. So I cleaned up, wore my leaf-stained shirt, and walked in when the place was buzzing. Karen stands at the lectern, rehearsed to a fault. She points me out like I'm a town villain. Here he is, Mr. Clark. I let her go on, and then I stood up dead calm and said, I just want to show a quick video. The projector guy didn't want trouble, but he played it. Everyone watched as those two figures crept through my woods in the dead of night, yanking up survey stakes. Color footage, clear as day. Bill's jaw, Bill's gloves. Someone in the back gasped, "That's Bill Harris." The murmur grew teeth. Karen's mask slipped. She sputtered something about deep fakes, said it was edited, tried to pass off some fresh paperwork. She even claimed there'd be a county inspector for the next cleanup, just to look official. Saturday came gray and ugly. Bill showed up with two guys, one swinging a trimmer, the other a chip on his shoulder. Bill stepped over my fence, literally, and gave me a shove. Wasn't much of a punch, but it was all the escalation I needed. Emma, bless her, shouted from the porch, "I have that on video." She'd been filming the whole thing. Bill's bravado melted. The inspector, Anna Morris, flashed a badge so fast it could have been a library card. I called an old deputy friend. He arrived, took one look, and said, "This just went from civil to criminal. When you have hands on tape and a county officer with you, the math changes." Still, we needed a paper trail. A few days later, a thumb drive shows up in my mailbox, no return address. Inside, scanned invoices, emails, a whole conversation between Karen, Bill, and Inspector Anna arranging illegal permits and payoffs. The HOA's own treasurer, Arthur, had decided to turn whistleblower. My lawyer called it a slam dunk, but he wanted one last move, get Anna on record. So we called her on a recorded line. My lawyer asked for the statute that gives her emergency entry on private land. Anna fumbles, papers rustling, then dead silence. Click. She hangs up. That was the last domino. Karen called me 10 minutes later, voice screechy and desperate, demanding what I'd told Anna. That panic? That was the sound of someone realizing their castle's built on sand. It ended, not with a whimper, but with a bang, a flatbed truck and a bigger bulldozer, plus two goons in private security windbreakers. Motion lights lit up my backyard like a UFO landing. I called 911, then watched the show. The truck blocks the street, the security guy's posture, but they didn't know the sheriff had my evidence, or that two deputies and a sergeant were rolling in. The sergeant, calm as a Sunday preacher, held up the thumb drive in an evidence bag and said, "We've been listening to calls. We have invoices. We have emails." Then he turned to Karen and, no drama, read her rights out loud. "Karen Foster, you have the right to remain silent." The security guys were cuffed and flat on the pavement before the bulldozer's engine even cooled off. After that, it's all paperwork and consequences. No slow clap. No neighbors hoisting me on their shoulders. Just the cold satisfaction of the law working like it's supposed to. Anna lost her job and her inspector's license. Bill and the goons faced charges. Karen got banned from any HOA board ever. The county ordered the creek bank restored, and, sweetest of all, I got to pick the contractor. I'll tell you what, though, when the engines died and the spotlights flicked off, I stood out back and listened to the creek. It sounded the same as always, quiet, stubborn, doing its thing long after the queen of the neighborhood got dethroned. Turns out, in the end, proof means more than power. But let me ask you, what would you have done? Would you have held your ground or taken the easy way out? Drop a comment below. Let me know if you've ever stared down an HOA or where you draw your lines, because I have a feeling I'm not the only one who's had to fight for what's right.